I'm David Fleming from the Disciples Ignited YouTube channel, where we're focused on Jesus, advancing his kingdom, and preparing his disciples. Now, we're studying revival outpourings that have taken place throughout church history, and starting with yesterday's video, we started studying about how the Lord poured out some massive revival outpourings in the 20th century, starting with the revival wave of 1900 to 1954. Now, the Pentecostal movement that was birthed out of this first revival wave of 1900 to 1954 had strong ties to the Holiness movement of the 19th century. Now, according to church historian Richard Riss, quote, "It is impossible to understand the revivals of the early 20th century apart from their background in the Holiness movement." You see, the Holiness movement that existed in the United States in the 20th century had its roots in the British perfectionistic movement. The theology of the Holiness movement taught that the Christian life really consisted of just two stages. The first stage being conversion. You got to be born again. Followed by the second stage, which they called the blessing of sanctification. Now, this teaching of being sanctified was the theological foundation for most of the early Pentecostal pioneers. In fact, it's been said that the Pentecostal movement of the 20th century was born in a holiness cradle. Think about that. So the Lord used the holiness movement to set the stage for the first revival outpouring that took place in America in the 20th century. Now, the thing that I really want to bring your attention to is it must not be ignored that this great revival outpouring that gave birth to Pentecostalism throughout the world was intricately related. It was tied to sanctification, being set apart from the world and being set apart for God and his purpose. See, we're set apart to be used by the Lord, but he knows that we can't do it on our own. We need the fullness of the Spirit. And that's what he took care of when he poured out the Spirit of God in the early part of the 20th century. We'll talk more about it in tomorrow's study, which will be about Charles Parham, so I'll see you then.